Good evening, and a sad welcome in to the Cavalier Connection postgame show for Virginia and Maryland tonight as Virginia falls to the Maryland Terrapins by a final score of 27-13. So, uh, if you watch the show, you know I'm a little bit of a wrestling fan, so I'm going to give you the Cody Rhodes. It's just me tonight. Jack and Jeff are in they're in the stadium, but so what do you want to talk about? Uh tough game for the Who's tonight. A game that started with a lot of promise. I think the crowd showed up, looked good from what I could tell. Jeff and Jack were at the game. They'll be able to give us a better perspective on that after they're finishing up their official duties. But there was a lot that went wrong tonight. So let's start talking about it. Give me your comments, your questions. Watching this game was, and especially in the second half, was downright painful to watch. You kept waiting for something to go right, and it just never did. So, again, give us your comments, questions. It's just me tonight as Jack and Jeff are doing their official duties there in the press box, and they'll be covering the post-game press conference for Coach Elliott and the players. Again, this is not an unfamiliar spot if you're a Virginia fan. The team builds up some hope, and then you get a performance like this. So, right from the gate, I think Virginia lost this game in the first half. They should have had at least 20 points at halftime. Once again, we kick a field goal from the 2-yard line. You're just not going to win with the red zone offense and the inefficiencies that we've had. It's you got Coach Kitchens. I hope they ask him in the post game about his play calling, because third down and the red zone have been awful. And that's not just tonight, that was last week as well, even though we pulled last week out. If you look, I mean, they're just bad. I think at one point, and I don't know what it finished as, and I'm going to be kind of slow tonight because I'm going to be looking at stats and trying to pull some things up, but at one point tonight, going back to the Wake Forest game, I think we were 5 for our last 28 third downs. I mean, you just can't win when you can't sustain drives. But tonight was the night. The offense really struggled. Credit Maryland's defensive line. They put a lot of pressure on AC. It didn't seem like he had a lot of guys open. When they were open, we had a few critical drops. The drop to Neville there with about 6 minutes to go. If you catch that ball, maybe you score, and then it's a one-score game, and who knows what might happen. But it feels like you just had an opportunity that you let slip away, because you had Maryland on the ropes, and then you settle for field goals, and then Maryland scores there right before the half, but we answer. Again, you have all the momentum going into the locker room. You got 30 minutes of football in front of you, looking to be 3-0, and you let it get away. So that second half is one of those. That's a toilet video there. I mean, you just flush that one. You just flush it. There's nothing good on that tape. I want to give the defense some credit because they fought their guts out. They gave us a chance. The offense really didn't give us a chance tonight. And, they just couldn't get anything going. It seemed like they'd have a little success running the ball, but then they'd hit a third down and it would fizzle out. So let me give you some stats here. Calandria was 21 of 37 for 247 yards and 2 interceptions. Kobe Pace had 11 carries for 46 yards on the ground. Xavier Brown had 7 carries for 43 yards. And Xavier looked really good, I thought. I thought he looked really good. He left with an injury at one point. Hopefully he's okay. Um, Chris Tyree had 1 carry for 8, and that actually on that play, that was in the first half. If you go back and watch that play, it was the play that Stevens got hurt on, even though he came back. He and Neville just leveled that Maryland defender. It was a great pancake block. That was one of the highlights of the night. Those were the main guys. Noah Vaughn chipped in 2 carries. Jack Greasy had 1. On the receiving front, Trell Harris 4 for 72, including that 45-yarder where we ultimately had to settle for 3. That guy, he's incredible. And again, he took a shot at the end of the game, and we're going to have to see if he's okay. Tyler, 3 for 57, had a couple of drops tonight. It could have been more like 5 for 90 probably. But those things happen. True freshman Cameron Courtney coming in with his first couple catches of the college career, 2 for 36. Beautiful catch in the first half. And here's what, if you read my article, the 1, 2, 3, ding, 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 I said you had 2 of the best receivers on Saturdays going head to head. So here's the outcome. Malachi Fields for us, 4 catches for 36 yards and was pretty much non-existent. So you got to give that Maryland defense a lot of credit. They really kind of shut Malachi down tonight, and that's not easy to do. I mean, he's a monster of a man, and they were able to do that. Chris Tyree, 5 catches for 33 yards. It just can't seem to get him it can't get him in space. He had the 1 carry. Give him a couple more. We run that read option. Just give it to him on a push pass at least once or twice. I mean, do something at the goal line even. Do something different. Kobe Pace, 3 catches, 13 yards. But let's look at the comparison. I said Malachi, 4 for 36. Maryland's, statistically the top receiver in college football coming in. He didn't disappoint. Dude's a real deal. He's a real deal. 9 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown. And he looked the part, and he played the part, made some really tough catches. And a lot of times the coverage was there. But, I can't say a whole lot bad about the defense. Let me see if I can find the time of possession. Because, my gosh, that was, I mean, in the second half, Virginia couldn't have had the ball more than maybe 10 minutes. Let me see if I can find an updated stat there. Again, if you have comments, questions, I'm by myself, so it's a great time to get your comments or questions in. I'm not seeing time of possession. Will Betridge 2 for 2 on field goals, but long of 29 yards. Just disappointing that we are settling consistently for 3. So again, send in your comments, your questions. This is a tough loss. I know there's people out there that living in misery like me. So if you want to look for some bright side, I think the atmosphere tonight was pretty good in the first half. We had a lot of recruits there, football and basketball. So make sure you check out, Jackie Franchuli's Wahoo's 247. Give her a plug here. Go check out her stuff. I'm sure she's going to have some stuff on recruitment. She posted a crystal ball yesterday or earlier today. I can't remember. I'm not going to spoil that crystal ball because that's behind the subscription plan. But go check out Jackie's stuff. She's fantastic. She's the Adam Schefter of Virginia sports. She's outstanding. A frustrating night. Frustrating night for the Who's. Where do we go from here? So this one's done, right? You squandered an opportunity. And as Coach Elliott said, you only get 12 opportunities a year. And we just let one go by. So 2-1. I think if you didn't know how they played out and you were just told we were going to be 2-1 after 3 games, most people before the year would probably take it. But it's tough to stomach when you get a big win like we did last week against Wake and then come back with the performance that we had today. So next week, we go on the road, and I don't even know that that's necessarily a bad thing. But it's going to be a big game at Coastal Carolina. They're going to want to play up. It's a ACC school coming to them. They don't get that very often there in Conway. And they're going to be excited. So playing on that turf there, 2:00 start. Hopefully we can come back. And then we get a bye week, which if we can win next week and go into the bye at 3-1, and the way the byes are split up this year, I think is actually really nice. After every 4 games, we get a bye after 4, we get a bye after 8, and then we finish out with the last 4 games of the year. So, when you look at the rest of the schedule, at Coastal Carolina, you have to win that. That won't be an easy game. They're a pretty good offensive team, and we're gonna have to play well. We can't turn the ball over. We're driving in this game, and then I know it's kind of a fluke play that your own offensive lineman would knock the ball out of your hands with his foot, but you got to secure that ball, Calandria. You just have to. You can't make that mistake. And then a couple of the interceptions were just not very smart in my opinion. I think there were opportunities where we just kind of forced things that we didn't need to force. So after Coastal, though, we get a bye. We got Boston College. In a year in which the ACC looks pretty bad in a lot of places, like if objectively SMU would be a disappointment so far in their first year, even though they're 2-1, they've looked really bad. NC State has looked awful for the most part. They're 2-1, but again, they've looked really bad. Clemson, we'll see about them. Florida State, dear God, why do we have to miss Florida State this year? Why couldn't we get Florida State? It's a good name, and you would be having a good chance to win that game. But at least we do miss Miami. I'll say that. But no Duke this year, which you'd love to see Duke on the schedule. No Georgia Tech there, but that's just a game I always like to play just because of the rivalry I think we have with them. But Pitt looks to be better than most people thought they were going to be. UNC's UNC. You kind of throw the records out with them, and we actually beat them fairly routinely. But looking at the schedule, we got Coastal Carolina. Then we're home for Boston College and Louisville, and they're both ranked right now. Now, Boston College probably won't be ranked because they lost today, but they deserve some credit, man. They lost on the road at number 6 or 7 in the country, Missouri, by 6 points. I mean, that's a strong loss. I can't see us winning that game, especially because of our health issues along the offensive line. We're just not able to protect Calandria enough, and we're not able to run the ball enough. So that's going to be a tough game to win. Could we win it? Sure. But if you're trying to count wins and losses, you're gonna have a hard time finding that one in the win column after it's over, I think. So let's say we do win next week. Let's say we're 3-1, Boston College and Louisville. Now, both those teams last year we had beat on the road. However, Boston College looks much improved this year, and they return their quarterback, Castellanos, who looks really good. They just played in a tough environment today in the SEC and almost got a win, so they're definitely not going to be afraid of the crowd in Charlottesville. Louisville, they're just going to come in with more talent. I mean, that's, number one transfer portal class in the country. They've got a lot of weapons. They're well coached with Coach Brom. I see that one being another tough loss. So now you're 3-3 if you beat Coastal. And then you go to Clemson. Again, Clemson's, I don't think they're that great this year. Could you win that game? Any game on the schedule, let's start here. Any game on the schedule, Virginia can win. And I'm even going to say Notre Dame's included in that because we just saw Northern Illinois last week go into Notre Dame and beat Notre Dame. So could that happen? Absolutely. Could Tony Elliott take his team to Clemson and win? Absolutely. But we're talking about averages here. So, the law of averages doesn't give us a whole lot of chance there. So beat Coastal. Get 3-1. Although ESPN gives us only a 44% chance of winning that game. Let's see. Boston College, then Louisville, loss. At Clemson, loss. That North Carolina game is absolutely monstrous. Because if you don't win that one, so now you've got North Carolina, who's always a toss-up game. They're going to probably, top to bottom, have more talent than you, but you've played really well against them. You seem to have their number. If you beat Coastal and then you lose the next three, you're 3-4. Winning versus Carolina gets you to 4-4. Then you go to Pitt, which I didn't think Pitt was going to be very good this year, but they've got this redshirt freshman kid who's playing quarterback who they just beat West Virginia today. So that's not going to be a game that I would pick us to win. And then the trip to Notre Dame, definitely not a game that I would pick us to win. Home for SMU on senior day. I'd probably pick us to win that one right now, but between now and then, who knows what happens. And then the game in Blacksburg to finish the year. So I had a lot of optimism that we could have a special season if we could get this one tonight. Because I thought maybe we get this one tonight and we get Coastal. We're 4-0. Split Boston College, Louisville. Split Clemson, North Carolina. And then win Pitt or SMU or both. And that gets you to like 6 wins. Maybe even you could score. Maybe you could squeak out 7. But anyway, it's a little bit depressing when you look at tonight and then what's coming up down the road. So again, didn't love the play calling tonight from Coach Kitchens, but was the play calling bad because he didn't have a offensive line that could block? So that kind of changed what he could call. There's a lot of like the ball hawk. I love listening to him talk football because he thinks football like a coach would. I think football like a fan. The play calling looked bad, but sometimes there's a reason for bad play calling. It's because you can't call certain plays because you can't protect. And if you call the plays that you want to call, but you shouldn't, and they get blown up, you get turnovers, you get people injured, which seems to be happening anyway. For the red zone calls, no excuse. I just can't figure out what we're trying to do there. And in fact, tonight, the first time we were in the red zone, I think Calandria thought that first and goal was actually third down because they ran they ran up to the line and they ran the quick handoff, and I think we picked up a yard or two, not much. And Calandria started pointing like it was a first down, when in fact that play was first down. So I don't know if that was a screw up on the play call. Maybe they would have changed the call, or if Calandria was just unaware, or if Coach Kitchens was unaware and that was a play call for a third and short. I'm not sure what was going on that red zone play. But too many times tonight when Calandria threw the ball downfield, he didn't give the guys a chance. He was throwing it 8 yards out of bounds. Nobody's going to make a play on that ball. So, a lot of credit to them, and then but you have to give some credit to our defense. That was encouraging. They were on the field the whole game. Yeah, they wore out in the end. They wore out in the second half, but they were on the field the entire second half. Offensively, it was really bad. It was really bad. And then Felton was just good. They've got guys. When when I was coaching in high school sports, I used to take losing really personally. And my AD said to me, the other team was trying to win too, because I would get really upset. So you got to take into account, hey, these other guys, they're trying to win too. They're on scholarship too. They're getting paid, big bucks too. They've got, big time donors and fans and things like that too. So Coach Elliott's trying to build something. And I think this is last week, he talked about a program win. And I think tonight was a program loss, unfortunately. It was a gauge. This was a watermark game. Where are we as a program? And, it showed we're still lacking in some areas. Offensive line depth being first and foremost, which I thought might be a strength coming into the year, but, we haven't seen Boley all year. Stevens got banged up tonight. And we've got multiple other injuries on the line that before we even got into tonight. So, yes, we've added depth, and yes, we have improved from last year, I think. But we don't have the depth to be able to suffer multiple injuries, 3-4 injuries that we have on the O-line. And then, we were missing Cam tonight on defense. We were missing Sedarian on offense. And missing Cam, you're missing your big playmaker. If Cam is in the game, there's nothing that says he can't, pick off a ball, take it to the house, make a big play, strip sack. He's your explosive, big-time playmaker. And even without him, they were really solid. When you think back to the first half, Maryland really did absolutely nothing for the first 27 minutes. I mean, nothing. They looked like we did in the second half. So you got to give some credit to Coach Rudd. He had a good game plan, I think. But they wore us down, and that's that. So, again, if you have comments, questions, you want to talk about this one, come in to the Cavalier Gold post-game show. I'm your host for tonight. As I said earlier, Jeff and Jack are covering the post-game press conference as we speak. I'm sure maybe it's finished up by now, or it's probably happening right now, actually. So they'll have some good insight. I'm sure they'll ask some questions, hopefully, to AC and whoever they made available tonight. I'm not sure who was going to be in the press conference room, but they'll have plenty of insight from the stadium. I'm sure we'll be talking about it on our show next week. So next week we'll have I'm sure we'll have a couple of episodes coming out next week. I'm trying to think of who the guest is that we have. Trying to line up a big one that just recently came back to Charlottesville. And no, it's not Kyle Guy. It's a football player. I'll let you guess as to who that is. But anyway, I think I've about killed this one. So tough night for the Who's. Don't lose faith. You know, keep supporting these guys. They're a good group of young men. They fought hard tonight. It didn't go our way. Stay positive. Keep supporting. I'm as frustrated as anybody. When I watch the game, I get super frustrated. They're trying to, you got to understand they're trying as hard as they can. We all know that. Tonight it wasn't good enough. I don't think the coaches on offense gave them a really good chance to win tonight. And third down and red zone has to be fixed. You won't win games kicking field goals from the 2-yard line, and you're not going to win games when you turn the ball over 4 times. So AC had 3 turnovers, 2 INTs, and 1 fumble, which came deep in the red zone early when you're trying to build the game up. And then Malachi, had a pass and he got stripped trying to get some extra yardage. It is what it is. Everybody's has some tough nights. 12-game season. It's just one of 12. You want to win these atmosphere games, though. You just want them so bad. But nobody wants it more than the players, and we as fans, we need to remember that. So show them some love. Stand by this team, and that's what we have to do. Got a comment here from Mr. Cadell. I think it'll be tough to think we'll win even 2 more games based on the offense I saw tonight. We didn't have any pass plays that could beat their blitz. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how if you were in for the show earlier in the show. I kind of broke down the schedule the rest of the way. It would be it's going to be tough to win more than 2. Winning 2 games, if we finished 4-8, would it shock anybody? I don't think so. I think the Vegas over-under for this team is 4.5. I was a strong proponent of going with the over. But some of the teams, I didn't expect Boston College to be as good as they are. Does it mean we can't beat them? Absolutely not. But I didn't expect SMU to be quite as bad as they are. I don't think they're very good. They haven't played well. So, it's a long way to go. If we get healthy, and that's a big if, but if we can get the offensive line healthy, tonight's game is different. You need to understand that. I think people need to think about that. Tonight's game is totally different if our offensive line is healthy. We couldn't block. You're absolutely right. The blitz killed us. AC was knocked down countless times. But you're playing guys that should be role players, should be coming in for a spell. You're having to play them the entire game. So it's about, we've got to build the depth, continue to build depth, continue to bring in talent. Next year's recruiting class is the best class Elliott's had in his tenure. We have quite a few offensive linemen. Grayson Reed is one. Jim Harris is another. I don't know that they'll be ready to play right away, but we'll see. I know the plan is, when we talked to Grayson, the plan for him was to redshirt because he's young. I think he's only 16 or 17 right now. But, again, it's going to come down to can we protect? Football is a game that's won in the trenches. Again, if you go back and read the 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, ding Maryland edition at the college huddle that I wrote for this game, The one is this game would be won in the trenches, and it was. Maryland won this game in the trenches by really dominating both sides of the line. Their O-line, was able to really wear us down, but that's because their D-line was able to dominate our O-line. Again, we just didn't have anything. It's hard to call plays. You got to give Kitchens a little bit of grace because it's really hard to call plays when you don't have any time. So what plays can you call where you have about a second and a half, 2 seconds to get the ball out? Some bubble screens and some things like that. Could we have ran more of those? Maybe, but yeah, it's going to be tough to win more than 2 games if we can't protect. So hopefully we can make some corrections and go down to South Carolina and get a big win next Saturday. We'll feel really good if we get to the bye week at 3-1. So let's go 1-0 next week. Just go 1-0 next week. I don't care if you win by 1 or if you win by 24. Just win the game next week. Get to 3-1. Get your bye. Lick your wounds. But again, as fans, please stay positive with these guys. They're out there doing everything they can to represent the university the right way, and they're doing a great job out in the community. They're great young men. Great young men. Think about the story of Tyler Neville. Many of you saw today about his battle with cancer and where he has come from. Yeah, he had a couple drops tonight. But would you like for him to catch the ball every time? Sure. But Tyler's a great young man, a great ambassador for the university. And he's going to make great plays. He had 2 touchdowns last week, one of which was, the Cavalier Gold Connection of the week. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Give us a like, give us a follow. We're on Instagram and YouTube, X, Facebook. If you look for the Cavalier Connection, you'll find us. Hit that subscribe. Go visit cavaliergold.com for all of your gold IRA needs. If you're thinking about switching over from a traditional IRA to moving into a gold-backed IRA, please visit cavaliergold.com. And even if you're not thinking about switching over, just go visit cavaliergold.com. Do us a favor. If you like the show, go visit cavaliergold.com and do some clicking around, do some looking. You may find something that's interesting to you. You may find something that can protect your assets. Right now is an uneasy time, not just for Virginia football, but for the markets. Until the election happens, it's election seasons always kind of have wonky effects on the market. So it's not a bad time to look into gold. With that being said, we're going to wrap up tonight's show. The Who's fall to Maryland by a final score of 27-13. They were outscored 20-0 in the second half. With that being said, we'll see you next week for a show previewing the Coastal Carolina game. We're actually going to be going on a Coastal Carolina podcast next week. So hopefully we'll have some clips of that we can put out. We'll get a good preview of Coastal Carolina from the Coastal Carolina pod as well. So look forward to that. Jeff, Jack, if you're listening, have a safe drive home, and go Who's.